TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome to Inside the Box, Batter's Box. My name is Scott Webb, and it's Friday. What a day. I mean, Fridays are typically my favorite days to make wagers because, especially on baseball, because you got new matchups today, and generally speaking, on the first day out, sports books don't know how to price them right. I mean, they get close. But I like to pick these games off on, especially on Friday. I think so. Fridays are great days for me, especially to see what numbers come out to be. Yes, Jay Berry, happy Friday, and I will break down that Dodgers game and Tigers game here in just a minute, and we'll go from there. Jay had asked about that in a Twitter comment, so we will do that today. So I think there's a couple of things. I think number one, I appreciate everybody. This channel is growing leaps and bounds right now, so that's great. Just keep it up. I appreciate it 100%, and hopefully we're providing good information and things that you can learn from and make quality bets. I mean, that's the best. That's the best thing that anybody could ever say to me is, based off of what, I'm listening to and what you're saying, my betting strategies, the bets I'm making are better than they used to be. And that's all I would ever want. Whether you play whatever I say on the shows or whether you don't, or all of that stuff is immaterial to me. What's more important is that we're helping, because that's what I'm here to try to do. So I appreciate that. The channel's going crazy. So hopefully we can get more of the growth that we're looking for, and we can go out and sell some sponsorships. That would be great. So that's goal number one. That's a big goal for what we're trying to accomplish here. So a couple of things here. I wanted to make sure I made a couple of shout outs. So first of all, Jay Berry, thank you. You've been active on Twitter and asked a question about the game today with the Detroit Tigers and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we will address that here in just a second. I also wanted to shout out Mr. Lucky. Mr. Lucky retweeted a couple tweets and brought it out that it's probably a good idea to listen to me on baseball, so I appreciate that. And ECSI, East Coast Sports Investors, that's the channel that I'm using the platform here. And Jeff Dawson, I want to make sure that I thank him for the ability to come on here this way. I used to do this years ago, and that's how he and I met. And we've worked together and done a lot of things together for many years now. I think probably pretty close to 10 years we've been together in quasi-partnership, if you want to call it that. We have the same goals. We're working on the same things. And I think a lot of things will happen here soon for each of us. So shout outs to everybody. Make sure you get in the comments. If you have a question or if you want me to handicap a game live, we haven't done that yet, but I'll do it. We'll break down a game if somebody has a question on it, and we'll go from there. So today I wanted to bring up two games relatively quick right off the bat, because the game Jay wants me to talk about is a 6:40 start, and one of the games that I had highlighted to talk about is a 6:50 start. So let's flip my screens around here so I can talk to these games a little better. The first game is Jay's game. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're traveling to play Detroit today. And the Dodgers are underdogs. The line currently, where is this game? There it is. The line is anywhere from minus 145 to minus 150. So somewhere in that range. It opened at minus 140. Skubal is the pitcher for Detroit. Paxton is the pitcher for the Dodgers. And theoretically, the logic and the question becomes is what do you do with the Dodgers? The Dodgers just got swept by Philadelphia. And, now they're an underdog against a team that, is a 500-ish team. And, we're looking at the Dodgers as, one of the cream of the crops in the National League. So is this a good value spot? Is this a good play, just in theory to be on the Dodgers? Because ideally, they should beat the Tigers. That's the way it should work. So in breaking this game down, and I'm going to switch my things around here. So the first thing that I do when I set a number or when I look at a game, the process basically goes in steps, and the stages are relatively simple. The first thing that I do is I'm going to break out my odds, the numbers that I make, and my odds on this game. I've got the where is it at? There it is. I have the Detroit Tigers minus 131, and right now it's minus 145 or minus 150, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that creates an EV positive bet. So if you make this bet 1,000 times, you're going to be in the winner side, 1.6% extra value. So, and that is on the Dodgers. If you bet the Dodgers as plus money 1,000 times, you're going to be 1.6% ahead. Now, that's based off of my numbers compared to this book's numbers. So I think there's value then on the Dodgers, just in my numbers. Now, when I break the game down, I don't quite see it as clearly as what that number looks like. And to be honest, 1.6% is still not something that is a margin that I would bet. Certainly you want to have that as a positive side. You want to be on the EV positive side, even if it's 0.5%. But I'm looking more for like 3%, 4%, 6%, 8%, something like that, where the number's off because, the public has bet it this way or something happened or, I can buy teams on sale or whatever. I can get a bigger margin and I can have a better success. So if I were to bet this game and I bet it on the Dodgers, I would bet it for a smaller amount. If I have if my unit size, I'm just making this up, but if my unit size is $500, I might bet, $100 on this game. So theoretically, if you're betting $100, you might bet 20. And if that's not worth betting, then you don't make the bet at all. So my point being is that when you just set a number, you have to articulate what the number means and how do you move and where do you go with it, right? So at this point, I don't think we have enough to say, hey, we're going to bet Dodgers, right? So it's 1% edge for the Dodgers, but things change dramatically when I start to flip things around and look at a couple of things. I looked at secondly, I've got that, and now I want to look at how do these pitchers control the opponent's offenses. So when I look at that and I see that where's Detroit and the Dodgers? There they are. So Paxton's kind of average. He's 109 in the last 28 days and 105 for the season. So that means he's 9% worse than an average pitcher in the last 28 days and 5% worse than an average pitcher for the season. So that's kind of average. I mean, that's kind of where an average pitcher is going to be. An average pitcher would be 0. But Skubal's a lot different. Skubal is 75. So he's 25% better than an average pitcher at controlling the opponent's offense. And then secondly, for the season, he's a 58. So he's 42% better than an average pitcher when it comes to that regard there. So obviously, he's going to control the bats that the Dodgers have. So when we look at it, we got to go and say, all right, so what does that mean? Well, the Dodgers are the best offensive team in baseball against left-handed pitching, which is what Skubal is. So you got to go, hey, Dodgers, they're pretty good against lefties. Well, Skubal offsets that to a major degree. And then you go and say, well, the Dodgers are throwing a lefty too. And the Tigers, well, they're not that great against lefties. They're 14% worse than an average team against left-handed pitchers. So that's not very good. So now you got a little bit of counterbalance with, okay, well, maybe the Dodgers have a fighting chance here. So okay, even though we have a pretty dominant pitching edge for the Detroit, now I got to go back and look at it and go, well, where are they in sequence, right? So Paxton's game score last time out was a 48. His last 3 starts is a 39, so that's not very good. His year-to-date number is a 48, so that's what he normally averages. So his last start's a 48, he's a 48. His last 3 is a 39, so that 48 actually helped his 39. So he's not pitching anything but average right now. So if he's an average starter, he's an average against this team. You would think that depending upon what Detroit's doing right now, they're going to hit relatively average against him. So when we switch that over and look at where their offense is, well, Detroit's offense right now is about as good as you can do. They rank second in offense. They are scoring 5.6 runs a game. Their isolated power is 4th. They're 41% better than an average offense. So that's pretty good. So that means that this offense has a better likelihood to take advantage of Paxton than Paxton does to take advantage of them. And then you mark this down and you keep working it out a little bit. You look at how it's structured through the lineup. And, you got 9 guys in a lineup. And over the course of a week, you might get, say 12, 13 guys, depending on substitutions and things, that bat at least 10 times. And of those batters, 7 of them, 7 are over offensive WAR of 1. So that means that they're getting offensive productivity from everywhere in the lineup, even though Colt Keith and Riley Green are the big guns in their lineup currently. So as I kind of progress this through, they come up with a 13.2 offensive WAR score based on their lineup, the players that play. And then when you look at the Dodgers, the same kind of lineup structure, they come up with a 3.6 score. So it's a very dominant edge offensively for the Tigers. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, it's 2-2 for the Dodgers. They only have 2 guys that are hitting, and those 2 guys are Will Smith and Ohtani. Okay, Ohtani's on this list almost every single week, almost every day. But he's a left-handed hitter, and he's going to face the best left-handed pitcher in baseball. So I think that sort of neutralizes him a little bit. So you're going to need Will Smith and the right-handed batters for that Dodgers lineup to really have big days today. And Skubal is in a spot where that could happen. His last start was an 84, which is great. I mean, that's a big number, 84. But for the season, he's a 63. So that's what aces do. Aces go out and have big numbers. He's a 63. And at the same time, I'd say he's a 63. For the last 7 starts, he's a 59, so a little bit below average. In the last 3, he's a 73. So he's big. And I think when you run into this, the edge kind of goes to the idea that maybe he's in a bad spot in terms of regression. But I think what you run into is the Dodgers offense isn't really ready to capitalize against that. When you look at guys on base against Skubal, his walk rate is 1.48. So he doesn't put guys on base. So you're going to have to get on base. And when you have to try to get on base and you have a whip rate of 0.92, walks plus innings divided by walks plus hits divided by innings pitched is less than 1, this is a struggle to get on base against him. It is a struggle. It's a fight. So the Dodgers are really going to have to work hard. They're going to have to fight to score runs. And then the other part of it is he strikes everybody out. He's got a 10.68 strikeout percent or over batters per 9 innings. So it's going to be a battle for the Dodgers. So having said all of those things, I think that my score predictor, when I looked at it, because the backside of this is bullpens, and the bullpen analysis came down to The Detroit bullpen's not very good right now. They've pitched 55 innings, give up 55 hits. That's not great. And I'm sorry, the Detroit is 45 innings, 43 hits, still halfway decent. Not great, but they rank 25th. And the Dodgers ranked 28th, 55 innings, 55 hits. So Dodgers bullpen's been getting hit. So not really an edge either way. And who's going to go deeper in the game? Probably Scooble will go deeper in the game. And then, when I looked at the score, my score predictor had it, and it came out and said, hey, first 5 innings, Detroit 2, and Los Angeles 1.5. Well, that kind of makes sense. And then the game breaks out 4.5, 4.6 to 3.7. So Detroit winning in a close game. So I think that probably plays out relatively the same. So when you think about value and you think about where you go, I said earlier, if you made this bet 1,000 times, you got a 1% edge that you bet on the Dodgers. So my opinion on this game is you don't bet it at all. Now, I did say, look, it's 4.6 to 3.7. I think the total in this game's 8. If the pitchers have a pretty good day today, that might be an under look. Scooble's really pretty good at home. His home numbers, if I go back to his home numbers, Scooble, he's a 41 at home SOPS plus. 41. So that means he's 59 or 59% better than average pitcher at home. Look, Dodgers are going to really have to work hard, and they're just off of a sweep. They're not hitting. They're kind of in doldrums. My opinion would be is that that's a lot of effort that they got to put forth. They're going to need guys on base and hit a couple homers, and if they do that, then they can win this game because I think Paxton's going to pitch an average game for him. And what Paxton has that's been keeping him all this together, his stuff is terrible. He's old and he doesn't have great stuff anymore. And his stuff rating is 72. 100 is average. So he's 28% worse. I could probably go up there and hit his stuff. The reality is, where it comes to what he does, his WPA, winning percent added, it's a 57 over the last 28 days, which is 4th best on the day. That means he puts the ball where it needs to go. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. On the season, he's a 1.24. Problem. Scooble is a 2.27 for the season, and he's got great stuff. Throws the ball where it needs to go, and he's really hard to hit. So that's where I think maybe an under might be a better look. So anyway, Jay, thanks for the comment. Awesome breakdown. Appreciate that. And hopefully that helps answer some of the questions on that particular game. Now, I got time here, 6:34, to jump into this one. Let me give you the play, and then if you run to click the buttons, you can do that real fast. This is going to be where is it? There it is. This is Cleveland at Tampa Bay. This is Carrasco, and this is against Taj Bradley. Now, I'm a big proponent of Cleveland. I like Cleveland, but I will say this. I think the Minnesota Twins catch Cleveland. I think the Minnesota Twins surpass Cleveland. And I think Cleveland's going to have to hang on but for dear life to make a playoff spot. I know they got a lot of wins already, but look, the trade deadline's coming. Cleveland's not a big spender at trade deadline time. And if you look at who they got pitching, they're not front runners. And they're going to count for their offense. And when their offense struggles, it's pretty tough. So here they go in, and they're going to go down, and they're going to play Tampa Bay. And you got Carrasco pitching. Now, in the past, Carrasco's been one of the worst pitchers you can bet because his stuff, and he's old. He's like Paxton, right? He's old. He needs to put the ball where it goes. But I will tell you this, based on the staff that the Cleveland Guardians are putting out there, Carrasco is the second best pitcher they have right now. That's a big statement because that's terrible, especially for a team that's playoff bound or maybe thinking about the playoffs and making a run. If I flip this over real quick and give you a specifics on what I'm really talking about, get this back this way. Go there. go there real fast. Where's the Guardians? The Guardians are here. So the Guardians starting pitching, Tanner Bybee's good. Okay, he's not an ace, but he's a number 2. He can be a number 2 for almost any team, really. He's that good. But there, so the website I'm on right now. This is Fangraphs, but this is Roster Resource. So Tanner Bybee's the number 1 guy. Power ranked overall by them, he's 27th out of all the pitchers. And then you have Carlos Carrasco, Gavin Williams, Ben Lively, and Spencer Howard. That's not going to get it done. So when I tell you that Carrasco is like the second best pitcher, I'm not lying. He's like the second best pitcher on their whole starting staff. So they signed Matthew Boyd, and they're going to expect Matthew Boyd to kind of be a savior, I guess. I don't know. But look, man, Cleveland's got to do a lot more than that to keep the Minnesota Twins at bay, because the Minnesota Twins, they're going to catch them, and they're going to pass them. So anyway, all right. So having said all that, I'm a fan of Carrasco right now. This game I'm not. But I'm a fan of Carrasco. So I break this down. I look at it. My numbers on this game don't make a good bet for the way I'm telling you to bet. My number on the game is Tampa Bay minus 105 and Cleveland plus 105. It's basically a pick'em game. The actual numbers, like Cleveland right now, if I roll this up here, Cleveland is minus 135 to 140, depending on what book you're at. So in that case, that puts the value side on the Cleveland side. I still don't like that. So I need to find a way where I look at this bet and go, why don't I like that? And why am I thinking the way I am? And the reason is I like my numbers a lot. I trust them 100%. So I think the value is on Cleveland. But here's my problem. My problem is that Taj Bradley is pitching for the Rays. I live here in Tampa, a suburb of Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota, right here. So I'm very familiar with who Taj Bradley is. Taj Bradley is a young kid, throws 97 miles an hour. He's got great stuff. Hasn't been able to really put it together to the degree in which he's a Paul Skeens. Well, take him in the first 5 innings today, minus a half a run, and it's like minus 115. I think that's a good bet, and here's why. I think that the Rays are in a position where a guy like Carrasco is not going to overpower them, and offensively they can get the job done against Carrasco. And the bullpen for Cleveland, they've been utilized a lot, and as of right now, I love their bullpen, but the reality is the bullpen in Cleveland ranks 16th. They used to be number 1, number 2, like all the time. Well, they're 16th now. They're middle of the pack. So you can hit them. You can get to them. You can't get to Class A, but you can get to the rest of them because they're getting used a ton. So in this particular spot, we're not going that route. So we're going to go first 5 innings, minus a half a run, and we're going to bet on Taj Bradley. And the reason we're going to bet on Taj Bradley is because when you look at the situational analysis on this game, first of all, you have Tampa Bay offensively, 3 guys over 1 WAR, and you want to bet on Cleveland when their offense is going. Well, they got 2 guys over, and one of them is the guy that just got called up, Martinez. The other one's Josh Naylor, but Ramirez isn't hitting. So, Fry and Ramirez and those guys that carry that team, they're part of the back end that's not hitting. So then I looked at it and I go, all right, well, situationally, Carrasco's a 111. So he's a little bit, 10%, 11% worse than an average pitcher at controlling the opponent's offense. That gives Tampa Bay an edge. And then for the season, he's a 131. So he's even pitching a little better than what he normally does. So he's normally 30% worse. So if he's going to make mistakes and he's going to do stuff, Tampa Bay should be able to capitalize. But the vice versa of that, and you're not going to see it because his numbers are messed up. Taj Bradley. Taj Bradley is a SOPS plus 46, 54% better than an average offense over the last 28 days. For the season, he's an 83. He's not really going to even be an 83. And here's why. So if I flip this back and I look at his game scores, and this is why I do this, his game scores over his last 3 starts is a 63. That's what an ace does. We said that's what Scooble is for the whole season. I mean, all 17 starts, Scooble is a 63. That's phenomenal. Bradley's a 63 over his last 3. He's a game score 50 for his last 7. Well, if you go back 6 starts, his 7th start, it was a minus 14. He got blasted. Just one of those games that happen, right? That happens. You get blasted. All right, so if I go and I just make that, I'm just going to change this because it's right here on my computer. If I change that to a game score 40, still bad, but it's not a minus 14. If I make it a 40, so he's 10, he's below average. Now his last 7 starts go from being a 50 to a 58. He's near ace caliber stuff. He's hard to hit. He's very difficult to deal with. And where the issue becomes is it gets masked because of that start that's in there. My opinion is that his metrics and his numbers, so batting average against is 183. His ex-WOBA versus the opponent, so I use these terms, but weighted on base percentage is a great number, and you should be using that. If you don't use batting average, now I use batting average and I'll tell you why in a second, but because I ran it out there, I'll tell you why I use it. But ex-WOBA against an opponent over his last 30 days is 265. The average is going to be 340 to 350 in that neighborhood. I'm sorry, 240 to 250. He's way better than that. He's green in a lot of things. I think that what you run into, he strikes out 11.4 batters a game. His FIP is 2.7. His stuff is 120. He's graded as got the most stuff on the board today. All he's got to do is throw strikes, right? And his walk rate now is down to 3.6. So it's average. Home run rate's 0.6. It's average. So I like the idea that over at least through the first 5 innings, and that's when you're going to get him. Cleveland, her offense is in the middle of the pack towards the bottom of the pack. He can dominate them. And all you're asking him to do is beat Carrasco. I think you should do that. I think you should play him in the first 5 innings. So that would be play number 1 of the day today. And that game goes at 6:50, so you got time to jump in there. So that's play number 1. So I brought up something that I said I would come back to, and that's batting average. I use batting average and compare it to batting average on balls in play. So there's a variance there. And the reason I do that is because in this case, Taj Bradley's batting average against is 183, but his batted balls in play average is 261. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is that variance is 0.78%. So balls that get put in play are much higher batting average wise because they should be in that, say, 50.50 number. So that means that they're sneaking through, and he's actually at a deficit in terms of luck. That balls are getting past fielders and getting base hits, as opposed to balls in play making out. So he's a guy that's unlucky in that sense. So Baltimore has Povich pitching today, and Povich has a batting average of 258 against him. That's an average batting average. It's above what the league average is, but it's kind of in that average number, right? Hey, Daniel Barry, how you doing, brother? So what I'm trying to say is it's 258. His BABIP batting average on balls in play is .265. That variance is only .07. So he's on the other side of that. He's getting almost every single ball that's hit to a fielder, or it's a base hit. I mean, meaning that the balls that are kind of in between there, the batting average is 258. So the 265, very few balls are going extra for base hits. So he's one of those guys that you could look at and go, it doesn't stay that way. These guys don't control on the mound where a ball is hit. They try to, but they can't control it. So balls being hit to fielders aren't 100% in their control. They have influence, but they don't have control. So when you look at it from a BABIP standpoint to a batting average standpoint, you can find spots where pitchers are lucky or unlucky on where balls are hit. And over the course of you're trying to find an edge, at some point that might come into play. I don't use that very often because in my opinion, it's good information to know that a pitcher's being lucky on balls that are hit because he's going to become unlucky. And, I don't want to bet on a guy that I'm expecting to get outs when he probably is going to get that spin back, right? That regression to the mean. So you got to be careful on certain things, especially if you decide, hey, I'm going to step out on a game. You might want to cross all your T's and dot all your I's. And I include this in my spreadsheets because I want to know that information. I don't care what the batting average is. I don't care. Batting average counts a single as the same thing as a double. It counts the same thing as a home run. And they're not. The values are way different than that. So that's why you use weighted on base percentage, WOBA. Use WOBA, not batting average. So I use WOBA and I use xWOBA, which is the predictive measure of that. So I have an xWOBA for the pitchers of how they do for how they've done in the last 30 days. And I have one for how they do against the opponent that they face. So of the lineup that we're going to see, do they do good or do they do poor? Carrasco, by the way, in the game we just talked about, is a 430 xWOBA predictive measure against Tampa Bay. So that means Tampa Bay should be very good at hitting him and taking advantage of him today. And Bradley hasn't had enough guys bats to put in there. So I don't qualify that for a lot. It only takes 20 at bats to make it on my roster, make it on my list. And he hasn't faced them enough times to have 20 at bats against their lineup. Typically, that's going to net in the idea of at least 2 starts, and he doesn't have that against them. So anyway, that's long story short of why xWOBA, WOBA, and batting average, but I use batting average because I want to compare it to the BABIP number, okay? All right, so having said that, I wanted to bring up one other topic, and it was one of the things we brought up, and then we're going to the next 2 games. We talk about pitchers, and I got to switch my screen for a second. We talked about pitchers and pitchers getting ready to have issues, and having issues meaning that some of these guys are in a spot where they've made a lot of starts and they're not necessarily in a position to capitalize the back half of the season. So they're going to hit an innings limit, right? So if I switch this to the San Francisco Giants, I want to bring up a guy, and we're going to bring up that's batters. Oh no, that's pitchers. There we go. Go to Jordan Hicks. So Jordan Hicks is the guy I'm talking about. He's made 19 starts. He's thrown 95 innings. His WAR number is 0.6. A guy like Logan Webb, his WAR number is 3.0. So you can see there's a significant variance difference. He's 5 times worse than Logan Webb. But what's important to know, and kind of what you need to understand here on how this works, let me go to his game logs. I'll go back one spot here. The most innings that he's ever pitched. Now, you got to remember who he is. Jordan Hicks is a former relief pitcher, and he was a relief pitcher that pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals. So in the Cardinals organization, or last year, for example, he threw 65 innings between the Cardinals and the Giants. The Cardinals, he threw 61. The year before that, which is 2021, he got hurt. He only threw 10 innings. And then he threw 28 because 2019 was kind of another, these guys that throw hard have arm problems. So he threw 28 innings. In 2018, he threw 77. He's thrown 95 already this season. So he has surpassed his innings limit that he's thrown in the history of Major League Baseball by already, the most he threw was by 18 innings. So a guy can add on usually anywhere from, say, 20 innings to 40 innings. So if we're looking at that, we're looking at 97 to 117 innings for him before he really starts to drop off and or his arm falls off. So his productivity level is going to be reduced, and you can see it. So that's what I wanted to bring up, that you can see it. So game log. So at the beginning of the season, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. So March 30th, game score 67. Then he threw a 70, 56, 56, 71, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 6 straight starts of great numbers. Well, let's see what his last 6 starts look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So June the 11th, he had a game score of 51. So it's an average start. Then he had a game score of 57. Okay. So now he's probably right around that, say, 70 innings. So now you go game score 19, 47, 46, and yesterday threw a 21. So these are the guys that if we can find them, and depending on what the numbers look like and what the lines come out, we can capitalize on. He had great success early, and now he's at that spot where he's not built up to throw that many innings. And his productivity and his performance level skyrockets one way. If we can get in front of that, then we can find those pitchers and bet them before the market does. So there's little tricks to that, and we'll when we find them, we'll identify them. But I wanted to give you a specific example of what it looks like. So there's a guy pitching tonight for the Chicago White Sox. And he's one of these guys that's very popular for people that want everybody to make big-time deals and trades for. It's Garrett Crochet. So I'm going to pull up Garrett Crochet's numbers for a second. And Garrett Crochet made 19 starts. He has 105 innings. So much more innings already than what Hicks did. And he's got a 3.8 WAR, so he's much better pitcher. Okay, so let me flip this back. Let me click on him for a second, and let's see. How many times has he thrown 105 innings? Last year, 2023, of course, this is Major League Baseball, he threw 12 innings. Now, he was hurt, but he's also a relief pitcher. Other than this year, he's never started a Major League Baseball game. He's been a relief pitcher. So the year of 2021, he threw 54 innings. That's the most in the major leagues that he's thrown, 54 innings. So he does throw, minor league games, rehab starts, and all that stuff, but nothing to the point of 105 innings. What I'm going to suggest is that anybody that makes a trade for this pitcher, thinking that he's going to be the guy that at is the one that is what their starting rotation needed to push them to a point where he's going to help them in the playoffs. He's not going to pitch. He's going to hit an innings limit, and they're going to shut him down. He's not going to pitch. So he won't be of value this year. But a team like, I don't know, let's just say the Dodgers. If the Dodgers go and say, hey, Garrett Crochet is going to be of great value to us, I don't care if he pitches this season or not. I can backfill him and he can pitch next year. And then they build him up and keep going. Like, I don't know how many innings he's going to go. Maybe he can go 120. And then if he goes 120 the following season, maybe he goes 140 to 150. Well, a mainline front starter is going to throw 180 to 200. So he's still not at those levels yet. So he's 2-3 years from that. So you got to understand what you're getting into and who you're buying and what you're going, but also performance level. I think that Garrett Crochet is someone to watch. I'm not saying that he's going to have a bad performance tonight. His stuff grades are dropping. If I pull up his numbers in terms of stuff grade, let me go back here and pull this up a different way. Garrett Crochet, pitch modeling, stuff plus. So for this season, Garrett Crochet, why am I on the Giants? I need to be on the White Sox to do this. There they are. So we go to the White Sox. Garrett Crochet, stuff plus is 103. So that means that's pretty good, right? 103. That's not a bad number. You want anything over 100 is good. And his pitching plus number. So stuff plus says this is how fast you throw, velocity. This is movement on the ball. This is spin rate. This is your arm extent, all kinds of stuff measures into this is the grade of what you throw. Pitching plus says that was your arsenal. How do you use it? So you might find guys that have great stuff but use it improperly and terrible pitcher plus numbers. So pitcher plus is actually a better way to understand how good a pitcher is. He's 103, so that's great. 103 for the season. Now, I can look at this and go, what is he over his last 30 days? All right. Significant change in his last 30 days. Garrett Crochet, stuff plus 94. So he was 103 for the season. He's 94 over the last 30 days. Do you think that's going to get better or worse over the next 30 days? They don't get better as the season goes, right? They're almost going to be as good as they are on March, middle of April, once they get their arms built up, May, right? That's when they're the best they're going to be. He's at 94. The thing that kind of impressed me, though, he's a 104 on the pitching plus, so it's better than his 103. So his stuff, the way he pitches is dropping, but he's getting a little bit better at finding out where to put the ball to get out still. That may mean he can throw more innings. I don't think that he's going to throw many more than what he's already done. The data, what I'm looking at, shows that. So is he a guy you bet against tonight? Nope. I don't think you bet against him tonight, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Pirates beat him because I don't like Marco Gonzalez on the other side. But anyway, the point being, though, is these are the kind of spots you can find right now as you're going from today through the next, say, 4 or 5 weeks, because you're going to find a ton of these guys that hit these innings limits. And some of them, like these are 2 relief pitchers that are major league starters today. And I'm just checking time. We're good. And then the next thing you look at is guys like Paul Skeens, guys that were call-ups that haven't pitched all the time, and they're going to build up a bunch of innings. When do they shut them down? Because that's coming. They're going to shut them down so they don't get hurt. So, okay. So I just wanted to hit on those couple of things. All right. So picks and plays, right? Sometimes that's what people follow me. They want to see what my opinion on stuff. And I got to say this way so everybody understands. When I do these shows, most of the time, and I'm going to tell you probably 90 to 95% of the stuff I give you on here is not the premium stuff that people pay for. So what does that mean? That means the stuff that people pay for are my bets that I made personally. I don't handicap the game to them like I do on this show. What I do is I go, these are the games I bet. If they follow those bets, that's what they pay for, great. Or if they're just paying to get information. Either way, it doesn't matter. But the point of it is the show aren't necessarily things that I personally bet myself. So I want to make sure that that's clear because there's a couple of things in mind. Just because I give it out on the show doesn't mean it's not a good play. And it doesn't mean I don't think it's going to win or I wouldn't give it out on the show. I mean, I have a reputation, right? That's one of the things I talk to Jeff about sometimes is these guys that do this stuff as content creators, they don't make bets. They try to have units and they try to play a game. I'm going to have X number of units won. I'm going to have X this, X that, so they can sell the idea that they're a good bettor. That's not what I'm doing. I want you to make good bets. I want to explain what good bets are. And I also want to make sure that you know what you're buying when you listen to what I'm selling or what I'm saying. So I make bets and put them on this show every once in a while, but not all the shows are that way. I think there's value to keeping that separate. People pay for certain things, and I think they should. So I don't try to put that on here that way. But at the same time, these are great plays. I wouldn't put them on here if they weren't. We win a lot on this channel. And we had talked about Tampa Bay. Now, this next game starts at 8. And this is a rivalry game. This is the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals. And what I liked and what I want to talk about is the run lines in some of these games because these next two spots I'm going to talk about are run line plays. When you handicap these games and you look at them, you're going to run into spots and you're going to go, man, I like them. My numbers say everything's good. Let me click out of this. My numbers say everything is good. And in this St. Louis game, sometimes the public goes and the bets go, holy crap, I can't do this anymore. They like my play too much. So in this case, St. Louis, they're like minus 200 now against the Cubs. That's a lot. 200, that's a big number. So if they're 200 as the listed odds, that means that they're expected to win 66. So 2 out of every 3 times they play. That's a lot. That's a big number. So my number was 176. So lower than that. But that's kind of where the number opened and it got bet up. So as it's rising and it's going, I'm not following that steam to minus 200 because now the value, it's not so much that it's on the other side because at 200, it's negative on both sides. It doesn't do you any good to bet the Cubs. It doesn't do you any good to bet the Cardinals at that price. So maybe we can find another way. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about was how do you find another way? So they offer you first fives, and we're not going to get into the first 5 on this one because money line first 5 is going to be just as bad or worse than the regular money line. So now we got to talk about run lines. So run line on this game, St. Louis, there they go. This is Gray against Hendricks, and we're going to talk run line. So the run line is St. Louis is minus 1.5, but when I looked at it earlier at minus 1.5, it's plus money. It's like plus 105. So to me, you can look at it and go, do I want to play first 5 minus a half run minus 135, or do I want to play the run line at minus 1.5 plus 103? So I think your better option is the full game run line here. Yeah, I know St. Louis is at home and all that stuff. Put that stuff away. That's a fallacy anymore. Don't worry about the home team not getting the bat in the eighth inning. Don't worry about that. What you would lose is 1 out of 5 times because a game is 3-2 or something and not 4-2. But where you actually pick up value is what if the game's 3-3 and you go into extra innings, you get a guy on second base, pop a home run, you score 2 runs, that counts, both runs, and you win the game that way. So you get extra shots anyway, even if it goes extra innings. So the run line at home thing, throw that out. That's not a big deal as it used to be. So we're going to eliminate that as I don't want to bet it that way. So what we're going to look for is we want a pitcher we can attack offensively, and we want a pitcher that holds the other team. So we have an offense that can extend the lead or get a big lead, and a pitcher who can hold it, right? So if we can do that, instead of just winning the game, which people obviously think he's going to win the game, Gray, because they went from 175 to 200, then let's look at the run line and see if that makes any sense. So in this game, St. Louis, what the first thing that I liked about it was Sonny Gray, last time out through a game, scored 34. Over the season, he's a game score 58, which means that's obviously close to 60. Aces throw 60. There's only a few aces. I know that you hear that term a lot. There's not that many. Sonny Gray at 58 is not an ace, but it's close. That's really so he's ace-like, if you want to call it that. So he's really good. And then he threw a 36. That was his last time out. The time before that, he threw a 37. That hardly ever happens. It hardly ever happens that a quality pitcher throws back-to-back bozo starts. That doesn't happen. The prior time before those two was a 77, 69, 78. So those are offsets, right? So there's a full expectation to me that he's going to be on the top of his game and he's going to throw a super start tonight. He's going to throw one of those 70 or 80s. He's going to throw a good game. He already pitched against the Cubs once this year, threw a 71. And so that was a time ago, but his metrics are really good. He's got a 2.81 xFIP, 301 Sierra, 246 FIP. I think he's going to throw great tonight. His walk rate is a 1.45, so he doesn't put guys on base. His whip is a 0.97. You want to bet on these guys, especially on the holding side of the run line, that the other team's not going to score a lot of runs. So then we have the other side of that, which is Hendricks. And he's the toughest guy for Sabermetrics to identify what's going on. But you can find a way now, and the way is WPA, right? WPA tells you win percent added, how many good pitches, good outcomes does he have, how many bad outcomes does he have. For the season, he's a minus 204. You got to kind of throw that away a little bit. For the last 30 days, he's a minus 0.17. So he's just worse than average. The minus 204 was including the beginning part of the season where he couldn't get anybody out. He was terrible. I'm like, terrible. Couldn't get anybody out, which is, again, another reason why you do this stuff in segments. So you capitalize the good and the bad. So here's what I'm going to tell you that I think is going on with him. Number one, I think he's on the back to the downside of what he was. He was good there for the last, 3-4 weeks. He's been pretty good. And if you look at situationally, I look him up. For the last 28 days, his SOPS plus is a 68. I don't know if I've ever really seen him be a 68, but that's really good. That means he's 32% better than average. For the season, he's a 141. So see that big gap? That 141, he's 41% worse than average for the season, but he's 32% better in the last 28 days. But kind of what I'm seeing is that's going away, right? His stuff isn't very good, and then his command's not very good. And then as I saw the metrics and where we're looking, they don't match up to what Sonny Gray provides. So I think you can capitalize against him and take advantage. So when I think about it, he's made 11 starts. Even when he was making good starts, he's made 11 starts. The Cubs won 3 times. That's it. And Sonny Gray's made 16 starts. The Cardinals have won 11 of those. And Sonny Gray, of all the pitchers that are at home today, he's the best. The best. He's a 37 SOPS plus at home. That means he's 63% better than average pitcher when he pitches at home. Well, some of these guys reflect the things, and some of them, it doesn't matter whether they pitch at home or whether they don't. But for him, it's a big deal because he's a 37 at home, a 116 on the road, and he's kind of even on his splits, right? He's got what did we say? He's got 16 starts. It's like 8 or 9 on both sides. So he's that number's not skewed because he's got fewer starts one way or the other. So he's really good, and he's really good at night. And Hendricks is terrible. So I like the idea that you look at stuff in day and night. Most people don't look at it that way, but I will tell you this. Some guys' stuff, because of where it comes out of their arm angle and from their hand, is easier to pick up during the day or harder to pick up during the day, and the same at night. So it's worth a look just to see if somebody has an issue pitching at night versus pitching during the day. So, for example, let's see if I can find one who's got splits that are crazy like that. So these guys haven't pitched enough. He hasn't really pitched enough. So here we go. Minnesota, Joe Ryan tonight. During the day, he's an average pitcher, 99. That's his SOPS plus. At night, he's a 66. Means he's 34% better than average at night. So I like the idea that, maybe they can't see that. And if you know who Joe Ryan is, so young, well, he's a little guy. He's not a big guy. So maybe the ball's hidden a little bit different. So when he pitches, it doesn't come out where you can really see it well at night. And the other thing I thought was interesting in him is that he's pretty good on the road. He's an 80 on the road, so he's 20% better than average pitcher on the road. So hint, that might be a good way to look. So as you're starting to look at some of these things and you break it down, I don't think you want to make a bet solely off of the idea that this guy pitches good at night. That's not why you do this. You want to use that information to support a thought that you might have and to verify certain things, and especially if you're stepping out on a game. If I'm going to go bet $2,000 on a baseball game, look, man, I made 250 bets. And it's very rare that I'm going to go out and make a $2,000 step out bet on a baseball game. If I do, I want to cross all my T's and dot all my I's. So I might want to look at that information. Hence, that's why it's on my stuff, so I can see it. So as we're doing this, right, we're looking at certain things, and we were talking about Sonny Gray. And here's where I think some of this stuff comes into play. Average innings pitched for Hendricks, 4 starts, 18 innings, 4.5 innings pitched. He's not going to throw that deep in the game. Gray's going to go over 6 innings. And that means in the 7th inning, you're going to bring in their best bullpen guys. Their best bullpen guys are pretty good. They're going to throw 100 miles an hour, each one of them. Bang, 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 100 miles an hour. So are we going to lose the game in the back end? I don't think so. So I like the idea here then that we can hold the Cubs offense. And if I switch to offense and we look at that, where that breaks down, St. Louis offense ranks 8th and the Cubs offense ranks 14th. And that's up because they just had a pretty good series against the Orioles. So I like the idea that I got the better offense, I got a better pitcher, and it's probable, not 100% guaranteed, but it's probable that they're going to hit Hendricks. This is a rivalry game. They've seen him, I don't know how many times, dozens of times over the course of his career. So I think that it's not going to be any surprises here They're at home. I think you can win this game on a run line, and you can get even or plus money. Why not? I think that's a great play. So that's play number 2. Then the last play that I have is a little more questionable. And the reason I say it's questionable is not because I don't like – I hate betting the team. I do. I hate betting the team. But it's questionable because of the pitchers. So if I switch this over, I'm going to go back to the pitchers. This is going to be Seattle at Los Angeles. And this is Brian Wu pitching for Seattle, and this is Anderson for the Angels. And guys, I think Anderson's the only all-star person for the Angels. I get why they made him that, but he's not an all-star caliber pitcher. He's pitching better than he's pitched in a while. He pitched for the Dodgers 2 years ago, really good. Last year, not so good. But I think the reality is that his xFIP is 4.84, SIER 4.95. Those are in the 25% worst of Major League Baseball right now. His big thing is he doesn't get a lot of hard contact, a lot of soft contact. So we'll have to see how Seattle does with that. But they've seen him a lot. It's not like they haven't seen him. These are two teams that play in the same division. They've seen him a lot. Where I think the problem that you run into that I have a hard time with is Brian Wu. So Brian Wu, his first 6 or 7 starts, almost unhittable. His game score well into the 60s. His game score for the season's 61, and that's considering that his last 2 starts are a 46 and a 38. Now, that 46 and 38 is because he's hurt. So he's 46, 38. He went out there, he tried to do it, couldn't do it. Only pitched a couple innings in both of those games. They shut him down. They gave him 2 weeks. So this is going to be his first start. He's only thrown 7 innings since June the 6th. So he's a little bit questionable. And it's kind of like, what are you going to get from him? Well, I looked at it this way, and I said, offensively, if I'm going to pick on a pitcher, it doesn't matter who they are. Maybe they bring in their bullpen and they throw some bullpen pieces. The Angels rank 30th on offense. Well, there's only 30 teams, so that means he's dead last. They're 26% worse than an average offense. Their isolated power is 30. Their WAR rank is 30. And you want to bet the Seattle Mariners when their offense is clicking, because Lord knows they strike out all the damn time. But right now, if you bet them right now, their offense is third. Isolated power, they're 9th. They're scoring 5.2 runs a game, and they don't hardly ever do that. And they got guys that can, and this is the time, right? You've got a pitcher that's not going to go strike them all out because he's not a strikeout guy. He's a soft tosser, and this is the right spot for Seattle to take advantage of one of those kind of pitchers. And then I'm not really worried about Brian Wu. If Brian Wu goes out there and he sucks, they're going to, excuse my language, if he goes out there and he doesn't do well, then they're going to put in their bullpen. And the bullpen guys, the Seattle bullpen, they've thrown 40 innings and given up only 23 hits. They've been really good. So I like the idea that you put in their bullpen, take care of Brian Wu if he's not that good, and still I think they're going to have a good night. Now, if I look at this on my score predictor has this because it doesn't know what to do with Brian Wu. So I can't really look at it right. It kind of blocks them out. I have Seattle scoring at least 5 runs tonight. So if they score 5 runs, then they hold the other team to 2. If they hold the other team to 3, you still win. So can the Angels score 3 runs tonight? That's your answer to your question. My opinion is that I think they struggle to do that, being the offense that they are currently, and I think you get value here. The run line on this game was Seattle -1.5 plus 115. Plus 115. So you're looking at a plus money with Seattle, a plus to even money, because I haven't looked at the number here right before the show started, with the Cardinals, and we talked about a first 5 with Tampa Bay. So those would be the plays I told you that I think you should bet. I also talked about Jordan Hicks today and some of the examples of what we're looking for with pitchers that run up against the innings limits and kind of their why we do that, because they're going to have diminished returns. I was very glad that Jay asked me a question about a game today, so we broke down that. It says, for anyone who wants to pay for the daily plays, what's the best way to sign up? Jay, good question. The best way to do it is just go to my website, go to mlb-daily.com. There's a tab on there that says, I think it says, let me go there and just to make sure I tell you the right thing. There we go. We'll go over there. It's a tab that basically says sign up or something like that. You go there, there's a link. It says membership sign up. I'm pretty clear. Membership sign up. You click that link, and then there's a little tab, a little button that you click the button, and it'll come up with 3 options. People at the beginning of the season, they paid me $150 for the entire baseball season. I think that's, most people are charging, I've seen $200 for a month. I'm just charging $150. I don't want your money from my bankroll. That's not what it's for. So secondly, what I did is we're kind of at that halfway point. I just said, okay, look, $100 rest of the season, just sign up if you want to. And then there's one in there you can do monthly, but don't do that, because it's way better money-wise to do it a different way. To do either $100 for the rest of the season, don't do the $150, because that's. But when you click the button, it'll take you to either one of those options, and you sign up that way, and then that goes through the process, and then it gives me receipts and all the stuff, so it's all legit. So that way that works out that way. Once you have done that, I get an email, and the email says, "Hey, look, you got a new customer," and I'm like, "Great," so, which is awesome. And then I send you an email. Because I'll have your email address. I send you an email. The email is a welcome note, a welcome letter. And in that welcome letter is a password. There's a link on my site that says premium content. The premium content is where you will go to get all the daily stuff that I put in there. Like I was talking to my wife last night. I spend 2.5 hours doing work for the next day at night before I go to bed. And then I get up in the morning and do 3 more hours of baseball work to have all this stuff ready. And I post all that stuff in reports. I'm poorly, I shouldn't say poorly. That's not the right way to say it. I don't know code. So I input all this stuff manually myself. I type in every single graph you see. I'm good with Excel, so I have spreadsheets total and do different stuff and create mathematics equations and algorithms. I can do all of that, but I can't use Python and stuff like that. So I can't move data around. So it takes me that long just to input data. So what I do is I input data 2 nights or 1 night, and then I input it in the morning, and then I go take a break for a little while, because my head has to get out of input data mode into, okay, now I got to do something with this data. I got to interpret it, read it, and then go, this is what I'm betting on. And then when I make those bets, I put them right into the website, goes right on the premium content page. I go to my Twitter account, and then I go, hey, bets have been entered. That way, when you follow me on Twitter, you don't go and say, I'm going to go to this page every 10 minutes to see if you put in the plays. So typically what happens is all the data is input. It's by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. That way, the goal is to show you how to use the data. So you don't need me. You just need the data. But if you want to play my plays, they're there. But the goal would be then is to at some point, what I want to do is open all this up and say, I don't need any of this, but I need a sponsor. We need a lot of traffic. The eyeball tells me I got 120 live viewers right now. That's a really good number. But I think we need to get that number up higher. If we have 500, for example, people will start paying for 500. They'll give me a sponsorship, right? So how do we get to there? Well, what we do is we retweet a lot of stuff, retweet the show, retweet things, say nice things if you agree. Jay wrote some stuff out tonight, and I was able to retweet some stuff. I also had Mr. Lucky say some nice things. When you do those things, I can retweet that stuff. You guys retweet that stuff. Hitting the like button is good, but nobody sees it. So retweet it. When you retweet it, stuff gets out, gets the popularity up, and then all of a sudden we get, instead of 120, we get 500. And when we have 500, we go to the guy down the street and say, hey, Mr. Pizza sales guy, you want to get somebody to buy more pizzas? Look, I get 500 to 1,000 people every night while watching this show. I'll advertise for you. And then they give you money. And then I go and say, hey, I'm not going to collect anything on my website. I'm going to give it to everybody. And then because the idea is to grow the channel. The idea is to get this thing bigger and do all this stuff, right? Jeff behind the scenes is doing a lot of things too, where a lot of stuff's getting ready to go. But, the goal is to have more and more sponsors, because more and more sponsors then create different kinds of incomes that you use for other things. So anyway, great question, Jay. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the support that everybody's given me so far. And, if you guys can keep doing the things you're doing, this channel will grow. I anticipate this also working through football. So if you guys like football, I do football. We're going to be doing football signups soon. So as we go through all of these things, we'll be doing football shows, baseball shows, doing all kinds of stuff. S.J. Jenkins, I appreciate it. Says, excellent show. Thank you so much. And guys, look, I want this show to be what you want. So I try to go over things that come up in terms of betting content, but I want it to be, if you have a question or want me to go over something, I'll be glad to do it. I'll put it into the show. I'll answer that, do things live, because ultimately the way this needs to work is you need the information to be coming to you usable, but also different than what content creators do, right? Like these guys that come on here and they do a lot of stuff. I wish I could do graphics and all that stuff, and maybe we'll have some of that. I got a way to do it on this thing, but certain things I want to do have lots of graphics, and I don't want to, that takes a lot. So you need producers for that. So when you have producers for that, that's the other part of growing the channel. You can pay somebody, right? So those are the things we need. That's what we're looking for to grow the channel. So anyway, point being is that, look, I want this to be whatever I can do to help you. I gamble, okay? I make bets. I'm not a content producer guy, even though this is content. What I want to do is show you the difference of what a gambler does versus these guys you hear about, these guys you see that you might think are actually making bets, because they don't. They're just guys that just blow hard and talk stuff, right? I want to show you the tricks. There's not tricks. It's just hard work. But I want to show you what you should be looking at. Like the number one goal that I have of this entire show, number one goal is that you know what a good bet is, so that you can make good bets, period. Make good bets, and if you do that, you're going to eliminate a lot of this other crap that comes along. This handicapping stuff is separate. So as we go and define good bets, and as we go and we look at handicapping, we can marriage those two things together to really produce great outcomes. So anyway, that's what I'm wanting the show to become. That's what I want it to be for you guys. And anybody that has questions about any topic, anything, I'll be glad to answer them for you. I get a lot of things about, people asking about CLV and EV positive. And, look, I'll define that stuff for you graphically. But if you're beyond that and you don't need those kinds of things, or you don't want that kind of stuff, then, there's no point in talking about it. So I want to make sure that you understand what you're betting, what your expectations of bets should look like. And then when you take your money to the window, how much confidence are you going to have to hand the money over to that teller at the window and go, give me $200 on game number 133 and whatever, right? Because if you're informed and educated and you know what you're going to bet, you beat 90% of everybody who walks up to the window. So you can be convicted when you go there. You can have conviction to your bet is a great bet. And if you made it 1,000 times, your expectations are to win. And that's what we do here, right? That's the whole goal. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I don't want to keep you guys longer. These shows shouldn't be, the goal of these shows is to do a half hour, 45 minutes. This one actually went a little longer than that, so I apologize. But great communication, great questions, great comments. And as we go along, guys, anything that comes up, let me know. Follow me on Twitter or X, I guess is what you call it nowadays, Webby20MLB. My website is mlb-daily.com. There's content there. Shame on me. I haven't written up enough content lately to put on there to add to it. But more's coming. Football's coming, so there's going to be a lot more stuff coming. So as we go along, just keep it growing, right? Keep it growing, and all this stuff is going to happen, and we'll unveil all the curtains, if that's what you want to call it. I don't know if that's really the right way to say it, but the goal is to coach, develop, teach, train, answer questions, and kind of go from there. So anyway, guys, have a great night. Good luck in your plays. Good luck in what we talk about. And I will be, what is today? Today's Friday. So I will be here tomorrow. Tomorrow is a noon broadcast. So it's tomorrow at noon. Weekend shows I do at 12. Weekday shows I do at 6:15. I don't do shows on Mondays, and I don't do shows on Thursdays just because MLB-wise, they're usually travel days. If those change and we have other reasons to actually do a show, we can come on. So anyway, until I see you tomorrow at noon, let's have a great night and enjoy your evening and have a good day. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.